Carol Esposito.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Just a quick question. How many people have purchased a home at some point in their lives? Probably most of us. And the ones that haven't, talk to me afterwards. I'll be happy to help you. And, you know, if you think about it, how did it go? Did you feel you had great representation through the process? I hear a lot of times from people that they'll say, oh, after I went under contract, I never heard from my realtor again. Or I felt so lost, I didn't know what to do next. I think what's great about what I do is I stay very connected. I'm a very emotional type of a person, so I can very much tap into the emotion that goes into buying and selling. But when people purchase a home, quite often it's based on emotion. You know, they get this feeling like they've fallen in love. They literally feeling in their stomach, and they panic. They can't get to be fast enough to say, let's get the offer in. What are we going to do if somebody else slips in? So to be able to put that offer in, though, they really need to speak to John. They can love a house until they would do anything to get that house. But if they can't afford that house, they're not getting that house. We just came through a couple of very busy years in the market where there are many, many multiple offers. So the strength in your ability to purchase is critical. You can't come in with, oh yeah, I've got your pre-approval, I'll get it to you in a couple of days. And say to the people, you know, you've got to get that letter to me. John does a completely thorough pre-approval letter. There's many sections on the contract that we have to check this box and that box. Other people send over a very generic letter. John's is so clearly spelled out that an agent looking at that says, wow, this is a really great pre-approval. I can see that he's done this and this and this and all of these things they're already very clear. So in order to be able to purchase that home, they need to start with John. So I often always send my people to John. So, after we get the offer accepted, and I do have a pretty good track record of winning, because I always say to people, where is that number that you feel that if you hear that that house sold for $1,000 more, which is about $4.50 a month, would you be okay with that? So that puts their minds someplace else. And John taught me that about what it is per thousand to a buyer, but to a seller, $1,000 is $1,000. To a buyer, it's $4 or $5 a month. So sometimes that's all it takes to push them a couple dollars more. I say, stop, don't go to work a couple times. This is a couple times this month, or you know, maybe stay home instead of going out, for pizza or beers or whatever. So, but after we get the offer accepted, the next very critical part of the deal is having Christine review the contract team, making sure that her purchasers are protected legally, that everything is properly spelled out in the contract. Sometimes there's extra little things that are inserted, and so Christine would do her job to make sure that they are inserted properly. Sometimes people want to do things like put a fence up or put a pool in, so they have to get to work on finding out. And I often say to people, if you want this house, and you only want this house, if you can put a fence in that backyard, critical that work is done while we're in the preliminary stage. Excuse me, so they don't get there and say, I want to put a fence up, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, the town says you can't put a fence up. There's a public easement, utility easement. So those things happen. Random. It's amazing how many there really are. And the next part of the process would be getting JP or a really wonderful home inspector in there to do a really fabulous job of going through that entire property, teaching a buyer, teaching his purchasers all about how a home works. And most of the home inspectors I work with actually do teach people how the house works. As much as it's to find the defects in the house, they also point out the very positive things about the house, and tell them how important it is to get your furnace cleaned every year, and all of the things that go into home ownership. So at that point, it's buyer beware. They have to make an informed decision with the information that they have been provided is something that they're comfortable with still moving forward. If the seller won't take care of it, they're taught to budget for unexpected things like a furnace that goes, you never know, but it's expensive if people are cash poor if you're purchasing a house. So anyway, those are the beginning steps of purchasing a home, and very important. Then they get to work on applying for the mortgage, and I stay in touch with them. And try to make sure that they're doing what they need to do by turning in everything to John as he needs it. And then, of course, reaching out to Corinne to get their insurance. They need an insurance binder to close on their property, or they're not closing on that property. It's one of the terms that, you know, the bank wants to be sure that their property is properly insured. So, you know, another very, very critical part of the process. I've been in many a home where people say, oh, I wish this had a finished basement. I love everything else about this house, but oh, darn it, handsome, I just wish I could do that. I said, well, I have a terrific person. It's really reasonable, very responsive, and we could get him over here immediately. And it would be Cy Taylor, which has been an incredible help to me in my business. He has actually made me look really good, because when people say, do you have the name of someone, and I give them Cy and Cy's back, I think you respond almost instantaneously, or usually within that same day or so, which is really, you know, people kind of want to know that cost. Like, what's it going to cost me? They're like, well, yeah, that house is definitely worth it. I could do that. And you've secured jobs before the house is even closed, right? You've helped me get houses ready to put on the market, and so has Lance. I had a couple properties that same owner, and Lance went, and much of the stuff was overgrown. So Lance did a fabulous job getting that property ready, and it really, you know, the work we did, you know, maybe they looked and stuff. So I feel my real estate sphere is very, very strong, but so are many other people in this room that help me as a real estate agent, especially when a purchaser feels, oh no, you know, they often feel a little bit overwhelmed by what did I do? Buyer's remorse sets in, a little bit of fear, and I'm there to help them because it is an emotional process, and I do, again, help with the emotional part of it. And going back to that story about the candy, I do often when I attend a home inspection, based on the type of people that I'm working with. If there are children that they have brought along with them, and I know the kids are coming, I do bring things to keep the children busy, because the last thing mom and dad need is a whining child or somebody that can't really, that will distract them. I had a house once that was a vacant house, and the seller was an elderly woman. I'm sorry, the purchaser was an elderly woman and her son. He was late 50s or so. They were going to live together. And I thought, well, this woman is like almost 80 years old. So I got a chair. And the home inspector called me afterwards because he didn't want to say anything there. He said, I've never seen anything like that. How did you think of that? You know, so I'm always thinking about people. I care very much about people, and that's why I love real estate so much, because it's something that I really, I want people to walk away and know that this has been a really wonderful experience. And on a note to Christine, I have on the handful of times, not often enough because I'm often too busy, but people will say to me, oh, are you going to be in closing? And I said, well, I don't get to be, but I can be. And I always say, I have to tell you, I love it down there. To me, because I'm a super social person, but beyond that, I love the buzz there. And I always say to my people that it's an exciting place to be because everybody there is usually either buying a home or refinancing a home. And if they're refinancing, usually pulling some equity out, so doing some things. But I do think that it's a really cool place. If anybody hasn't gone down there, I mean, I've talked to people when they said, oh my gosh, I ended up in the basement. You know, because there's so many closings. I'm sure you've experienced that, where you end up like trying to stand on a counter, signing paperwork and stuff. But so the whole process can be fun. It doesn't need to be scary. Many times people are anxious, a little bit frightened, but you know, I'm here along with this great sphere of people that are in this room to help this whole procedure, this whole process run as smoothly as possible. And you know, I hope that I can do that for anybody that you would recommend to me. I get really nice notes in the mail. I've got a huge box of things that I save, and I always hope that someday when I'm gone, my kids will find that box and read about who Mom really was, if they don't know what I hear. And I find it very rewarding. I actually get tears. I've actually worked with people that ended up things not working out, and all of a sudden in the mail comes this beautiful note and a gift card. I'm very touched by that. So I think I do make an impact on people, and that's why I find it very rewarding. My mom worked super hard. She was, I'm the oldest of 5 children, as well as I had 5 children, but she started working when I was 12. And I saw her work 7 days a week, and I realized see why now, because it's a passion and I love it. So just know that if you recommend me, I will take really good care of the people that I'm working with. Anyway, so true. I don't know if I missed anything. I probably got all these notes. I didn't even look down at them. But anyway, so thank you for the opportunity to give you a little bit about what I do, and to everybody in the room that has helped me make me look better when I refer you all as part of my team.
Thank you.